Hi guys, so thank you so much for interviewing with us today. To start off, why don't the two of you introduce yourselves, let us know your name, your year, and maybe your major as well.
All right, I'll start. I'm Chris Prevo. I'm one of the co-presidents for Husky Gaming Nation here at UW. I'm actually going to be graduating in June, and I'm a neuroscience major as well. So it's been interesting balancing these two completely different worlds, but it's been a good time.
Yeah, and I'm Max Perkins. I'm a sophomore in environmental science at UW, and it's been great working with the esports program and the community recently.
Yeah, totally. Thank you guys. So the first question that we're going to dive in with is, tell us which RSO you are representing and just a little bit about your organization so we can, get to know these gaming communities a little bit more.
Sure. So I'm a part of Husky Gaming Nation, and our big pull is that we're a more social community centered gaming RSO on campus. Um, and so what we emphasize is like just being able to come together and build a community, meet new people, make new friends through gaming in general, whether that's video games or board games or any other kind of games. We always make sure that we have like a wide assortment whenever we would meet in person, especially. And since it's been online, obviously there's been more of a focus on like free games that you can play together through your browser, or like really popular games like Among Us, and all of that other kind of stuff. But primarily, what we emphasize is just being able to meet new people, make a lot of great memories, and be able to uh, relax and just have a great time to take away from the stress that UW tends to pile upon you.
Yeah, and I represent WGA Smash. We host Smash Ultimate tournaments and get-togethers around campus once a week on Wednesdays, and we also do stuff on Thursdays. But recently, as we've gone online, we've adapted to hosting online tournaments, and it's been kind of a struggle to get everything up and running, but we managed to move it from Wednesdays to Mondays, and we still have a stream and everything. So it's pretty cool that we've been able to continue providing this resource for students on campus into the pandemic. And once we get back on campus, we'll continue having the weeklies, and we also have a monthly that I run for not just for students, but also for non-students around the Seattle area. So it's been really cool to provide that for people.
Yeah, totally. And our second question is, how did both of you initially get involved with esports at UW or just gaming in general?
For me, I'll start. I believe freshman year it was the hub crawl. I believe it was called. We always have those events at the beginning of every year, and I went there to see all of these different gaming organizations, and I ended up gravitating towards HGN, and they were going to have like their first meeting that Friday. So since the very start of my UW career, I've been involved with Husky Gaming Nation primarily, and thanks to getting more involved with HGN and becoming an officer and then a president, it's been great to go out to all of these events and different things that the gaming communities put on. And it's really nice to be able to interact with all of the different kinds of gaming communities on campus. I know from a standpoint of like a more community social gaming club, we get to have, I guess we get to have like a more broad perspective on things. We get to interact with more people because we have more variety in terms of like what we can put on. And we've worked with like a bunch of other clubs in the past, primarily like the board game club, game dev club. We've done stuff with like Minecraft at UW as well. And I believe in the past, like we've talked about doing stuff with the Rocket League club as well. So it's been great to just get to know more people from these communities, and get to host more events and collaborate in that way. Because I think it's really good to let people know that like you can be involved with these communities and have a good time, whether you're like super competitive or not. Like even if you're more casual or just want to have a good time, you can still like you don't have to be like the most hardcore, like 100% dedicated gamer out there if you want to participate in these events.
Yeah, as for how I got into gaming and esports, before coming to UW, I would host like small Smash tournaments for Melee and Ultimate. I always played Melee more, but I also, Ultimate was the bigger game, so a lot more people were interested in that. So I did work for that for my high school and then my community center in my city. And then I also did a couple tournaments for Seattle University because I knew some people there. So coming to UW, I always envisioned me working with the existing organizations to bring my tournament there. And that's exactly what happened. I went to the weeklies and met the student leaders there and got to know them over time. And we eventually brought my monthly there, and it's been super successful. And I also got involved in WGA through the Smash Weeklies, and our friend Justin brought me on to WGA to plan for Emerald City 9, which was going to be a big regional tournament as part of the Husky Expo we were going to have last year, but unfortunately it got canceled due to COVID, which was unfortunate.
All right, thank you both for your answers. Oh, excuse me. The third question is, how does or how did UW Esports and the gaming RSOs contribute to your overall Husky experience?
As for me, I can say that the gaming community at UW has really elevated my Husky experience a lot more than it would have been without it. Like I said, like I joined HGN and like got involved with these communities like my freshman year. So it's been like a core part for like my entire time at UW, whether it's been in person or online. Especially with becoming an officer, like when I was a sophomore and then becoming president, it's just increased even more so as time has gone on. But I can definitely say that because of the gaming community here at UW, I've met a lot of great friends that I've like been friends with all 4 years. And people I'm sure I'll be friends with like after I graduate as well. Like my current roommates are from people that I met through the gaming community. Um, and I've made a lot of really good memories as well, that are going to stick with me for a long time. And so I think that without the gaming community at UW, and like the esports and like casual gaming RSOs, my time at UW would probably be a lot more uneventful, like a little more boring, you know, not as exciting, because it's been really nice to have this outlet where you can go to and have these people with the same interests as you, same ideas, and just get to like be yourself, have fun, and unwind. And that's been like a really, really good part, about being at UW, because there's so many people. You're bound to meet people that like have the same interests as you. And so yeah, it's just really elevated my experience, more so than if it wasn't there. And it's helped keep me sane from all the all the schoolwork and everything else that UW throws at you. So I think it's been it's just something that's really important. So I'm really glad that it's being fostered as time goes on.
Yeah, similar to Chris, I've met so many awesome people throughout, you know, working with the Smash Club and all the other RSOs for gaming on campus. And like I've met the people I'll be living with next year. Like we're looking for apartments right now, and it's super exciting. And I just think it's like really cool to have this space for people to relax after a hard day of school, and just they don't have to think about it for those couple hours while they play games with their friends. You know, it's so wholesome and great. And I've also learned a lot of cool skills working in esports for collegiate. Like I know how to do graphic design and some marketing, video editing, and a lot of like tournament organization stuff, which is really cool. for me to be able to build those skills in a controlled environment. And I just think like it's been super awesome to learn all these things in college before I go out into the real world, you know. It's just been something to do, and I'll continue to do it until I graduate.
Yeah, thank you guys. And you know, I've always thought that esports is, really the next big thing, and it really starts at collegiate. That is the pipeline into the esports industry and to really continue to expand it. But I also think that it's important for UW Esports and our program to pay homage to kind of our roots, because gaming is a universal hobby. A lot of people, they start gaming because like maybe ever since they were a little kid because it's really fun. So kind of continuing to foster that community and piquing interest in the general student body, letting them know that there are opportunities for them to participate in gaming and UW Esports where they don't have to be competitive is, important. So I agree with you guys. So that's a really nice insight. All right, so that is the end of our interview. I'd like to thank you guys again, Chris and Max, for being here today and really, taking the time out of your day to help us continue building our UW gaming community. So thank you.
Yeah, it's been really nice. I appreciate all the stuff that you guys are doing, and even if I'm going to be graduating soon, I'm optimistic about the future of gaming at UW.
All right, thank you so much.
It began with 3 pillars, the foundation for UW Esports, pushing ourselves to greater heights.
Community.
Career. Competition.
Oh yeah. Reminds me of Toronto Defiant Yakpung. Reminiscent of that, of just juggling everyone into the corner there.
Maybe that'll be the game changer here for UW.
Maybe. Oh my goodness! What an angle by Wizard!
Wow. What a shot.
And welcome back. Right now we have an interview here with Nathan and Kevin Nathros on the Overwatch team. Thank you for coming out. How's it going?
Not too bad, just got finished dominating.
Naturally.
So for those who maybe missed you in the game or aren't aware, what type of role do you play on the team?
So I play main support for UW Esports Overwatch. I've been playing the same role for a while, ever since I started playing for the team. Mostly like hero-wise, that ends up being Lucio, Brigitte, and Mercy. And I don't stray too far away from those. Sometimes Zenyatta, sometimes Zen.
Okay, so solid support.
Have you always played support when you played Overwatch, or did you start off as like DPS or tank maybe?
When I started playing Overwatch, the hero that I really liked to begin with was Junkrat. But I was in, Silver then, and I played, that was back before Rollock and everything else, and I played like Junkrat, Reinhardt, Mercy, and Lucio, and then I kind of trended towards support as the metas went on. We hit GOATs, and I found my calling in Lucio and in shot calling, speeding, in and out with the teams, and that's kind of where I really found myself slotting into that support role.
Okay. So you just threw out like a bunch of different characters all across the range. And that's kind of one of the things with Overwatch, since the meta is always changing, you gotta like find new characters and kind of adapt to the meta. So you mentioned that you started off like around Silver, and that's a big jump to going on to like the team with UW Overwatch. So can you talk about like a little about your journey from, that's a hard grind from Silver all the way up.
Yeah. So by myself, I made it from Silver to about like high plat 2800-ish. And
wow.
That was when I joined the club team. At that moment, the club team was called the B team. And it was the WGA Overwatch, which is a student organization here. it was the WGA Overwatch B team, and on that team I stayed a bit, and I started off trying out for off tank, but I ended up playing support, and I got up to diamond around 3200 there, and that was right around when the GOATS meta hit, and then I started playing Lucio pretty hard. And I always had a lot of fun there. But that team and having the resources from the A team as well, who, you know, some of the players that I play with right now, Alex, Platypus for one, and Isaac Mad Cow Disease, they all gave me VOD reviews and helped me improve myself. And that was like a really big part of my self-improvement, was being on the B team and having the constant scrims and practice, but also having the VOD reviews, the feedback from my teammates. For sure.
So what would you say is the most important thing in VOD review? Because when you talk to a lot of like low reload players, they might say like, oh, I don't have that mechanic wise, I'm not like the best or whatever. And they think that all Overwatch is mechanics, but it's a more complex game than that. Like, how would you say you improve something like game sense or stuff like that? Yeah,
so when I got VOD reviews from my teammates, or when I've done VOD reviews, because I do a little bit of coaching on the side now, I almost never focus on mechanics. Sometimes it's as simple as, like, you know, if you're playing Ana, if you hit that sleep there, you win, right?
Yeah.
But you can't focus on like, oh, you have to hit that sleep there. You have to go into, you know, into the training range and grind your sleeps for 3 hours, because that's not going to improve. Mechanics is something that improves very, very slowly over time. So it's not something that you can like specifically focus on and fix instantly, as opposed to positioning, game sense, ultimate usage, like all of these other really core things that affect how you play almost more than mechanics will. Because if you do practice a lot and you're playing, again, you also have to be playing at, you know, a low enough sensitivity with high enough frames, and your ping can't be sky high. But if you have all of those settled and satisfied, then it literally only takes practice to improve your mechanics. And VOD reviews, you're focusing on cooldown usage, ultimate usage, positioning are like the top 3 things that I look at.
Yeah, that's a really good way to practice and improve. I think, like you said, just straight aim is kind of over exaggerated, and it's kind of like a cliche at this point. That's not really how you improve. Maybe in other games, maybe CS:GO, maybe Valorant, but Overwatch is more like a team based. It's more strategic. So when you went from like a more casual player, just like on your own, like for fun, and then you went on to like a team, so more competitive, what do you think was a big shift in the way you played the game?
In the way that I played the game, I think, I mean, on my teams, when I joined this team to begin with, and when I joined the B team all that time ago, that's like 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago now. My mentality going into those teams, because I was underranked for both of those teams when I got on them, my mentality was like, I need to do everything I can to not be the person that's holding this team back. And so I would be looking to do as many like shot calls and calls as I could, and honestly, a lot of times looking to play decently without feeding as much as possible. And that mentality of like, I'm really bad at this, I'm bad in comparison to my teammates, and I need to get better, was my motivation to get better. So that was kind of like the play style, how I played, and what I was thinking when I was moving into all of that.
Like, how often do you think you like, oh yeah, I made the wrong call, and you have to look back at that and improve on that, because that's a big part of the game, because you need to know there's so many situations, and how did you go about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one thing about shot calling that I think holds a lot of people back, is that they're not sure. I mean, I think more people aren't sure what the right thing to do is than they say the call and then mess it up because it ends up being the wrong call. More people just won't calm at all because they don't know what to do, then will calm the wrong thing. So, and honestly, if you calm the wrong thing and you calm it really hard and your whole team does the wrong thing, it still can be better than calming the right thing and nobody doing the right thing, right? A lot of times what matters most is team synergy and like everybody focusing the same target, doing the same thing, having the same plan. So having the confidence to just shot call and say, no, this is what we're doing, is important. But then VOD reviews and stuff like that, and watching Overwatch League and all of that to help me understand the meta, so I know like what are the good calls to make, what should we be doing here. That was also a really important part of I would say my like growth, was knowing what to do in a given meta. And I think like tracking ultimates and everything, watching Overwatch League in season 2 was part of what made me such a talented support player, because I was really good at dissecting the meta, dissecting how ultimates were used, and then trying to get my team to do the things in a similar fashion.
And to kind of close it off here, what would you say to someone who's like maybe in high school or something, like who's aspiring to be, maybe they are trying to be pro, or like they want to pursue like competitive at a higher level like you are at University of Washington? What advice would you give them?
I would say I've been exactly where you've been. I was, silver when I started playing, and that was in my senior year of high school. I started playing a year late, and all it took for me was surrounding myself with the right people, asking them for help, and dedicating myself to get better. I sincerely believe that everybody's capable of getting better if they put in the right amount of time and practice in a way that helps them learn specifically. So I don't think anything's really limiting you beyond the time that you have to put into the game and how you're practicing and who you're practicing with. So go for it. Going pro, going this hard is something that a lot of people can't afford, and that's okay too. I don't want. The only reason that I've gotten this far is because it hasn't interfered with the rest of my life. So I unless it's your actual absolute dream to go super far, go pro, you have to take a measured response and know when is it appropriate. Am I sacrificing a bunch of other stuff in my life? If I was doing really poorly in my classes because of my time on the team, I probably wouldn't still be on the team. So there's compromises there and a balance. And I would say if you're really good, go for it. But have a backup for sure.
Yeah, it's all about the balance. Well, thank you. That's a good note, good motivational way to end it. Thank you so much for coming. I know your time is probably busy. You probably have some homework and some training to do.
Oh yeah.
But thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for the interview. It was awesome.
All right, getting into game number 3 here. Wazoo up 2-0.
Oh no, the spectator.
Okay, hold on. Spectator just accidentally joined
the change team button. The change.
No, right there. Nope,
No,
down.
no,
Down. Nope. Okay.
No. Oh
No.
no.
Okay. Okay. No, change team.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. They figured it out. Okay. Wait. Chat. Chat. Relax, guys. Come on.
I know we're doing bad, but like,
come on. Score is still 0-0. No harm. No harm done. Everything's fine. We'll get back to the game.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to UW Esports interview with UW alum, class of 2019, Parker Singh. He is currently an assistant editor working with Evil Geniuses to provide for us that premium content. So, Parker, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So to start us off, could you please give us a quick introduction about yourself and your history at UW?
Yeah, so I'm graduated in 2019. I got a degree in cinema and media studies. My kind of goal was to sort of go into film and sort of do stuff with film, but I've always been around games my entire life. And, so I've heard of Evil Geniuses, and I saw that there was an opening there. And so I applied, and I kind of got talking with my boss at the time, and, he found a position for me. And so that's kind of how I got started where I am now with working for Evil Geniuses.
Yeah, that's awesome. So could you give us more insight into your professional experience in the gaming and interactive media industry?
Yeah, so at EG, I basically work with all the content that we sort of, produce. So I help with the recordings and the editing as well. So that's kind of anything sort of you see on there, any sort of video aspect you see, like from EG, I kind of have a hand in helping out and assisting and stuff. So anything from like the partnership announcements that we do, or like the Live Proud podcast. So just I have a hand sort of like all the sort of media.
Yeah, totally. That's awesome. So, in your experience, what have you learned about the gaming and interactive media industry? And what have you learned about yourself through this professional experience?
I think the big thing that I've sort of learned, and so that was, that took a little bit to adjust, was how fast the industry moves. Working in esports, things are constantly changing because it's still a developing space and it's still a developing industry. And, one day we could be doing one thing and then the next we're completely having to shift, stuff around because something popped up. And, it's just the nature of, working in a field like this where, everything is still growing, which is, great to see and stuff. And so, but yeah, that's kind of the big thing that I sort of learned about the industry. And then going off of that, talking about what I've sort of learned is learning to be uncomfortable and sort of using that to propel my own growth, because in a way, because of how fast the industry moves, you're always constantly on the move as well. You always got to be kind of nimble and agile with everything that you do. And so learning to be uncomfortable is, a good thing, because it helps you, because I believe it helps a person grow. Putting yourself in uncomfortable situations kind of gives you learning experiences that you probably wouldn't have had if you just kind of sort of stayed in your lane and you just kind of did what you were normally doing. So I think that's kind of the biggest takeaways I would say from that sort of aspect.
In the same vein, what advice would you give someone interested in pursuing a career in the gaming and interactive media industry?
I would say two things. One thing is just go out there and do it. That's kind of vague, but you got to start somewhere. And so I feel like getting, especially, in college, is kind of like a sort of a good time, sort of start gaining your footing, seeing if you like something. And then, if you like it, then you sort of continue. So in that sort of sense, there are great programs, a lot of great programs out there where you can just kind of go out there and start sort of seeing if you like being in the gaming industry, especially with things like UW's like, gaming club, or especially like EG has, where you have your own like collegiate Discord and like collegiate program where, you can connect with other people. And that sort of kind of bleeds into where, like, don't be afraid to reach out to, people in the industry. We're all willing to help. They're all looking to help people who are, passionate and driven, want to work in esports and like gaming, and who are wanting and are here to make the industry a better place. And it's a growing industry, so there's always room for people to help out. And I think that's the thing is, don't be afraid to sort of reach out to people, because they're more than willing to help you out. Like, we're all, if you just want to send like a quick message on like Twitter or like, or on something, everyone's willing to help you out. So you just gotta get out there and start doing it.
Yeah, thanks so much. That's something I noticed about esports too, is I find a lot of very open and friendly individuals. So, I'm kind of unsure about, my next steps moving forward since I'm graduating soon.
Yeah.
And esports is something that I'm looking into. So, just knowing that these resources are available to me and there's kind of like a pipeline from college into the esports industry is very reassuring. So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's it for our interview. Thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. Editing is kind of one of those roles that's really behind the scenes and not many people really pay attention to. But, so I really appreciate your transparency with us, essentially.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to UW Esports interview with UW alum, class of 2000, Michelle Morrow. She wears many hats, and one of them is co-producer of the YouTube Red original series, Good Game. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Ray. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. So if you could please give us a quick introduction of yourself and just your history at UW.
Sure. Oh, my history at UW. Well, that was a very long time ago now. But I let's see, I majored in drama and I minored in speech communications. And then I moved to Los Angeles in 2000, and I pursued a career in entertainment. I did some small indie movies. and television until I started to break into the hosting world, where I focused on video games. I got jobs reviewing games, writing about games, producing shows about video games, and that kind of led to esports. So I was the host of BlizzCon for 6 years, and I also hosted TBS E-League. So I did Street Fighter and Tekken. And I worked for ESPN 2 for Heroes of the Dorm, the collegiate championship. And I also did daily esports newscasting for Bleacher Report.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I understand you are a woman of many talents in hosting, acting, writing, producing, but what was your first job in the gaming and interactive media industry, and how did you find an in?
Oh, wow. My first job, I was hired by a friend of mine. I was working actually as a personal assistant here in Los Angeles, just as like a side hustle. And they needed a host to do a Tekken 5 review, an interview with the developers. And they needed me there like that day. So I rushed over, I got in my car. I had barely any time to review any of the work. And I interviewed the developer and did a little playthrough testing on Tekken 5. I think this must have been 2007-ish, around then. And that was my first video game thing that I had done. After that, it was probably a couple years later, 2009 or 10 or so, maybe 11 even, I started to write for Hello Giggles and Nerdist.com, and I was doing their video game articles, like columns. So I was a weekly columnist for Hello Giggles. And from there, it kind of went into more hosting for a place called Bite Size TV. Another friend of mine saw that I was writing about video games, knew that I had a lot of experience on camera, and they were hiring somebody to do app reviews for this new TV network that had popped up called Bite Size TV. So I started to do app reviews, and that was really the thing that got me more entrenched into this world. Even though I had that one little kind of one-off earlier on, because I was writing so much about video games, I was just noticed by a friend who knew that they were hiring for this very specific thing.
Awesome. So kind of along the same vein, what professional experience have you accrued in the gaming and interactive media industry? And what current projects or activities are you working on?
Yeah, you said skills. What skills?
Yeah, professional experience, skills.
Sure. Well, being on camera is a big part of it. I learned a lot of that at University of Washington in the drama department. So being on camera, having improv training was really important. So I have a lot of improv training. Reading teleprompter, also very important. Learning how to break down a script, learning how to research and study. Those things were all important skills to really have before going into the field. And then after that, it was, researching different games, playing different games, becoming familiar, making myself familiar with the news, and knowing how to be on camera with somebody else. That's, I think, one of the most difficult parts of the job that I don't know if people understand that as they go into it, because everybody feels like it's about them being on camera, but it's really about the chemistry that you have with your co-hosts and other people that you're on camera with. Learning games that I didn't know. Like, for instance, when I went into Tekken 7 to be a sideline reporter, I didn't really know anything about the game. Like, I knew a little bit playing it on my own, but not like, I didn't know the players. I didn't know who they were. So I studied beforehand, and I met with a pro player who helped me learn, like, very badly, but learn at least some of the game. I think being able to hone those research skills in, know what you need to know and know what you don't need to know, knowing that you can lean on the other analysts and casters for their expertise as well. Everybody brings their own thing to the table. You don't need to bring everything, but the thing that you do bring you need to be able to do it well. So I think I've honed in that quite a bit, especially with BlizzCon. And then I took all of my experiences in gaming in general, whether it was my experiences with sexism, whether it was my experiences with diversity in general. And I made a TV show called Good Game that we released in 2017 with Dan Harmon and the Game Grumps. And with YouTube Red was where we distributed it. And so I created a show from scratch. I learned how to write a treatment. I worked with writers to develop the storyline. We hired actors and did part of the casting process. And we told a story about, an underdog team in esports and how they were going up against, the big leagues, like the guys who've got money, sponsors and whatnot, and how a team starts from scratch. So I really had to learn about the industry as a whole. And I wanted to use those experiences and infuse them into one show. So that was a huge point of pride for me. And now with COVID, it's been so weird, right? Because there's no events really, not in person that we can do. So I do hosting online. I'll still conduct interviews, and I've been moderating different panels. I have a podcast that I've been doing as well about the sort of the human side of gaming. It's called the Game Diaries. I do that with pro player Miss Harvey. We just did season 1 last year, so I've been focusing on that and developing a couple new shows now.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like especially during COVID times, just everything is so unsure, and people really just have to, stay on their toes and improv essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. You just kind of you just have to create, find what makes you happy and move toward that. If it's gaming, move toward it. So I've been playing a lot of World of Warcraft, let's be honest.
So what is the best part of the gaming and interactive media industry for you, and what parts of it would you like to change?
Well, let's see. The best parts of it for me are the relationships that I've made. I have a lot of great friends that I've made because of gaming, because I've met people hosting different events or doing my show or interviewing people. I've made a lot of really great friends and people that I've learned so much from. There's a great network in gaming and that I really benefit from. And I know that a lot of people in the gaming sphere would agree. I think that's probably the best part of it. You get to go to cool events. I mean, you get paid to be playing video games, to be having a good time and learning new games and meeting players who make a living out of it by actually playing professionally. I've learned so many amazing stories about people, their backgrounds and how they got into gaming or why gaming is important to them. And those are the things that are really important to me. If there's something I could change about it, it would definitely be the sexism that happens. And it's definitely a lot better than it used to be when I was younger. But it still's got a long ways to go. We still reward men who won't play with women. We still see a lot of teams that don't have female representation at all. And the thing is, there is no physical barrier between men and women to be playing together. And, at a pro level, I would often ask, where are the women? Because there'd be so many times, at least in the beginning, I would be the only woman on a broadcast, and that drove me nuts. And a lot of women were kind of only offered the sideline reporter roles, which that's a great role, and that's a lot of fun, that role. But if that's the only role that's being given to a woman and not anchoring the show or being an analyst, there's a problem with the system. There's clearly a problem with whoever's hiring or whoever's recruiting. I think we've seen some great wins lately, in Valorant. There's a co-ed team recently that was put together, so that gives me a lot of hope. We had a woman win Hearthstone in 2019, the World Championship at BlizzCon. Her name was Lion. She won, which is huge. We've had Scarlett, who's transgender, who won the Olympics for StarCraft. We've got Ricky, Ricky Ortiz, who I think does Street Fighter. So we do have women. We have Miss Harvey and the entire CLG Red team for CSGO. There are women who play, but I want to see men and women playing together. I don't think there should be a problem with that. And I think we need to do better about reaching out to women, meeting them where they're at, and bringing them in, whether it means that different games need to be played at the university level. That was a big discussion I had yesterday with some developers. In pro esports, you'll say, where are the women? They're like, well, it needs to start at the college level. That's where it needs to start. And then you go to the college level and they're like, it's got to start at K through 9 or K through 12. It's got to start there. We should go to K through 12. And then sure, it just keeps getting pushed back. And I want to see it happen now.
Is that the end? Or is that how I end it? I don't know.